Hi, it's Ray at Pro Shaper Sheet Metal in Charlton, Massachusetts, and this is part 2 of taking out the dents and shrinking the high spots on this Lotus 9 aluminum front shroud. And last week in part 1 there was a big swell here that I shrunk down with the torch using the leather shot-filled bags that we make, and there's still a little hint of it here, and there's another spot right here. So I think the scope of this video will be to further shrink this and to planish this out and shrink that little section. And to finish this to perfection would probably take another hour, and it's chasing after all those little divots which I showed you how to take out last week. But this here is pretty ruffled, pretty hard up here. And we'll do a little section of that, and that'll be the full scope of this video. Just ironing this out and getting this a little bit better. So first off, I think I'll dress this little section here, and I can do that by taking a file to it. And the file's not removing any material, it's just revealing the surface condition. And you can see from that there's a bunch of low spots there, very similar to the condition we had here earlier. And we're going to bring those lows up, and in the process of bringing those lows up, the whole area will swell a little bit, and that's not a big worry because it's very easy just to shrink that back down. And like I said, the whole scope of everything is smoothing this. We'll get this fixed, get the two shrink the sections down, and then we'll do a little bit of this showing the contrast between these two areas here. So we'll start off with a light planish here, and you can observe these low spots here and how they will transform with just that light planish. It generally works all the time, just about any situation. See if that had any impact on it. We'll watch these lows. You can see those lows got a lot smaller in that little bit of planishing, light planishing. It's better to do a bunch of little hits like this than a lot of one or two big hits. Now, once in a while you have to do a heavier hit like that, but let those little hits accumulate. It's like a human planishing hammer that way. You can see that, how nice that went away. So we'll go over here now. And you can't be too worried about bringing this up too high, because it's a very simple procedure to bring it back down again. And in the process of smoothing this out, it is going to get higher here. Now I'm a little blind on the hitting here. I'm not seeing my impact zones yet. So I'm going to take out my little Harbor Freight orbital sander, which does a superb job. It gives you that nice little satin finish. Put a 120 grit disc on it. And you can use a file with that too. Got a file card to pull the little bits of aluminum off here. You can put chalk or wax on it too, and it won't pick up as much. So the shiny spots are the high spots, and the dull spots are the low spots. every time I hit with my slapper, I'm getting those little shiny spots. So that gives me the ability to target. Let's try a little magic marker on here and see what that says. I really do like the magic marker better than the Dykem. I mean, the magic marker is wet. Same with the Dykem too. You get a nice gloss finish. And that's smoothing up pretty nice. Both of them you have to wait till they dry before you can see what you got there. Now you can, the file makes a neat sound that when it goes over rough stuff like this, I call that the railroad track. When it's over this, you get a nice swish swish sound. The smoother that is, that's indicated that you're really getting a nice surface there. And we're not taking any material off, we're just scratching it a little bit to remove the magic marker. And this gives you a little stronger contrast versus just a satin finish. So. I'm just running around hitting these dark areas here and avoiding the shiny areas. See, that came up pretty nice. Might be able to get a few more here. It's getting really subtle now. You want to make sure you put a lot of up pressure. The up pressure has to be stronger than the down pressure. Otherwise you can just reset the arrangement. It would be like if this was made out of aluminum foil and you just pushed it in, you'd be resetting the arrangement on it. So if you use a hammer with too hard of a blow on it, it'll just push it in. It'll look like there's a big dent there, but that's what I call an arrangement dent. It's just turning a convex surface into a concave surface, collapsing it inward. Those are getting better and better. Got one right here. And now hit it with the sander again. Pretty smooth. A primer would fill that up, but let's see if we've got a swell there. Yeah, there is. There's a little bit of high spot right there. It's been worked on quite a bit. So we still got these little divots were actually caused by hammering a little too strongly, and it compressed the metal. And now it has to be cleaned up, and that's time consuming to get all those out. This over here wasn't that bad, so got a much better result. That shows the the superiority of using a slapper over a hammer, because the slapper spreads the load over a much larger area and you're less likely to get a real strong compression, compressed area there where you make those little divots. So let's light up the torch and we'll get this shrunk down. I'm going to start right here. So the heat that we're going to shoot for is about anywhere from 200 to 500 degrees will do it. If you go too much, you'll burn a hole through here. And it dissipates very quickly, so you got to act fast. Cool it off. I use Palmolive dishwashing soap in with water so that you can rub your hand on it nicely. You can feel that surface really well. That came down a bunch. There's still a little bit there. It might take 3, 4, or 5, whatever it is, shrinks before we get it down to perfection, but that's pretty nice right there. Let's go after this one now. And again, I want to repeat, I think I mentioned it in the last time, is in the part 1 video, is the situation you have is you've got to illustrate it this way here. You've got a hump or a rise in the panel like this, and when you heat it up it actually rises even more, but then it becomes plastic. So when you're hitting it with the slapper right there, when it's in its plastic state, then you can push it down like this and the metal pushes into itself like that and actually shrinks up. Now I'll only do it a little bit at a time. If you put a hard dolly behind it, you're more likely to stretch. The soft dolly with the leather, with the number 9 shot in it, will give you that backing that you need without causing any compression stretching. Heat it up good. And if you get a close observation, you can see if you observe it really closely, you can actually see the heat swelling it. This is a little reverse curve feature of the design here. It comes in like this and it's rolling this way. So you have a radius going this way and 90 degrees to that. You got the radius going in the exact opposite direction, which is the characteristic of a reverse curve. That feels good both ways now, both this direction and this direction. There could be maybe a little bit left here, plus I'm going to have to make some chasing all these divots, but it'd be boring showing you chasing out 100 divots here. So what I'm going to do now is just show the contrast of what these surfaces were like before, if they were similar to this. So I'm going to iron that out a little bit. And I've been repeating myself a little bit in this video, so I think between parts 1 and parts 2 you get the process. That's the important thing. And this is my student Harvey's project. I'm only using it for an example, and I've been trying to teach Harvey how to do this, and he's doing pretty well. He's cleaning up some of the wells on his newer panels, but he's going to end up having to finish this stuff all up and to finish that up could take 4 or 5 hours by the time you get it perfect. So we're going to slap this out, just this little section right here, and you'll watch that smooth up pretty quickly. But the micro stuff does take a long time to chase after all those little spots. Now a lot of guys will file. If it's new panel work and it's 60 thousandths, yeah, you got a little room to file some of this stuff away, but you generally don't want to file to smoothness, you want to smooth to smoothness. And in this case here, it's only 50 thousandths, and the metal is probably a little bit thinner because it was English wheeled, and in the process of English wheel, and they shaped it. So it could be 48 thousandths or 46 thousandths or so. So we don't want to remove too much material. That sanding will remove almost a negligible amount. So even the filing that I did, which is an indicator filing, not a smoothing filing. So we'll just chase after some of these here. And again, they do have, you know, I've got an air planishing hammer, I have a mobile English wheel, and you could actually probably put this in an English wheel, but a lot of people don't have those. So this is to show you that you don't need too much in the way of tools to get a perfect result. And it's you know, labor intensive, but it's actually a fun process and a lot of self-esteem comes from it, from just being able to take something that was all crumpled up. I mean, this thing was crumpled up to about this area here when it first came in the shop, when Harvey first brought it in, and you know, it's fully recovered pretty much now, other than the light planishing here. The way I have this set up, where you have 2 benches, and they could be sawhorses or whatever with blankets on them, and then you have this clearance underneath that gives you you want to be in a very user-friendly position that doesn't hurt your back or anything, and you want light behind you. I have a mobile light stand, and that allows me to see all those little impact marks. When you got the nice little satin finish there, you can see those little impact marks really easy. So, not so easy with this Dykem. Dykem, it's hard to see. But you really don't need to see too much when you're doing the roughing out here. So, you get a sixth sense of where your dolly is relative to the dent after a short while in practice. So when I'm doing this, I'm not really seeing anything. But you can hear something. When you hear that dolly on, that's what you want. That's doing a little bit of compression stretching, which will cause a little bit of stretching and swelling of the panel. But as you saw earlier, we can just shrink that right down. If you haven't used a slapper before, it's going to be a major revelation when you start to use one. It's so much better than a body hammer. So I've got a transition problem right here. There's a flat in here and it's rounded here, and it's kind of bubbled here. So what I have to do to solve that problem is I got to do off dolly. All this stuff I've been doing is mostly on dolly. What off dolly is it's the fulcrum, and this is the lever. So if I want to bring this up, I put the dolly under here, and then I use this as the lever. And you can swing the dolly up at the same time simultaneously, and then that brought that a lot nicer. Still needs a little bit more, but become a human planishing hammer, essentially. So, take the file. Now, and it might be that it is a swell right in here, so I might just hit that spot right there, because that's the low point, or right about here is the low point of the reverse curve. So always look at the horizon view too when you take, and you can spin the panel and you can watch that horizon view, and it is proud right here. So I got to bring that down some more now that I see that horizon view, especially after I iron this out. You see that horizon view, it's still a little high right there. If you look at that line, this area still needs to be shrunk a little bit. And then this is what I teach in my class too, is every panel that you work on, you want to watch that horizon view because it tells you so much. You can see if there's a mistake in the flow of the surface. It's still strong right in here. So that's got to come down some more. I don't want to make the videos too long. I'm going to get this horizon down. We'll smooth a little bit more. And we'll leave the rest of this work up to Javi. That's actually Javi's project. So. Next week, I'm going to be starting on a really interesting project. A friend of mine has, I believe, a 64 E-type nose, and it's in really nice shape. It's got a few dents in it and a little bit of rust, and he's intending on restoring it, but he's going to let me borrow it to so I can copy the surfaces on it, and we're going to make an aluminum E-type nose, and it's going to be a long series about how to build an all aluminum E-type Jaguar nose, and that will probably be about 2 weeks from now before we get going on that. But I'm going to continue doing these videos, and I've got tons of different subjects I can cover. In the comments section, if you would, you can put some requests in or stuff you want to see. And this stuff helps my classes quite a bit too, because now I can refer my students to looking at my videos, and that can bring them up to speed before they come to the class. So I hope to do a lot of this. My goal with my classes is to inspire people. To take on the challenge of building their own car from scratch. And currently I have about 6 people that took my class, and they're scratch building their entire car. Some of them the frames and everything, and they'll be featured in videos later on this year. So let's get another shot of that horizon view, and you can see that horizon view is improved quite a bit. It's still a little strong. You got to develop your eye. So right there is a little strong on the horizon view. I still got to shrink it there. And that's always the goal, is to get that horizon view really nice. And it's strong right up in here. So first I'll go after this one. The most important thing with learning these skill sets and working in automotive panel work is developing patience. you've got to you can't be intimidated by the job, and you just have to develop your patience, and the job is done when it's as close to perfection as you can stand it. As your skill sets get better and better, sometimes perfection disease kicks in really hard, and it's hard to get anything finished. So I always say in my classes, people are either perfectionists or project managers. Project managers get jobs done, but they're not done really well, and perfectionists have a hard time completing anything, but they're done beautifully. So you got to find a balance between the two, and that line is just a beautiful line. You can see that that's flowing really nice now, and then the aberration starts right about here. So that needs more shrinking still here. So I think so far tonight, I don't want to go too long with the video. I think you've got the process, how to take out these little divots, which was shown in part one, and how to generally smooth out the area, which we did here, and we started doing up here, and the shrinking process. It's all simple procedures. You got to practice at it a little bit. And I hope you like the videos. There's more to come. And this will be the end of part 2, and I don't think I'll do any more. This is really Javi's task, so I'll have Javi watch the videos over and over again. So we'll see. I'll maybe throw a picture up or a short video, some other video showing Javi's progress on here. So please like and subscribe my YouTube channel, Pro Shaper channel, and please visit my website, proshaper.com, and see all the great stuff we have offered there. Thank you. It's Wray.